and they get the shows produced by Noah's Arcade. You remember that?
I wish I could say I remembered that.
Oh, okay. I didn't know how much of a Wayne's World guy you were. I was
No,
a big time Wayne's World
middling, I
guy.
guess.
Okay. So, looks like we are. Oh, I see an ad on my on my YouTube feed. That's usually a good sign. Um,
Should I open up my phone so I can see the comments?
yeah, I just want to make sure. Oh, of course, I forgot to hit skip on my ad, so now I have to like. Oh wait, here we go. Good. Okay, I think we are now we are now officially live. Apologies to anyone who had to hear the beginning of that recording. All right, Dave, I'm going to do a proper kickoff for us here. So thanks to everyone who is joining the feed right now. I sent out the feed pretty late, and there's actually a game on right now too. So this is we're in uncharted territory here, Dave. We have not done many YouTube shows during live matches.
Unfortunately, I suffer from ADD, so I can't. I'm not gonna put the match on, or I would not be able to concentrate on anything. So.
No, I'm not either. Actually, I'm too ADD. I'm too ADD to barely like record a podcast. So like, let alone do like literally anything else. Okay, cool. I'm just going to quickly announce that we're live on a couple of places, and then we will go. Excellent. How is your game week going so far, Dave?
Couldn't tell you. I think middling, gray area. Actually, let me open it up too.
I'm stuck in the middling zone, I have to tell you.
I'm not sure if the Mbumo goal helped or not.
Do you have him? I mean, he wasn't captained
Yeah.
by anybody, so I
Yeah,
feel
I
like
guess
that.
you're right.
I feel like that had to
Yeah,
help.
small green arrow, it looks like.
Okay, yeah, that's something. All right, let's get going here then. Proper start. Hail cheaters, and welcome to the Always Cheating Podcast. My name is Josh. Brandon is in India, or at least he's on his way to India. Yeah, so I'm here with a longtime friend of the pod, Dave Weigner-Lodahl. Dave, how are you doing?
I am great. Great to be here. I have a lot of decisions to make this week, so I'm
Mm.
looking forward to sort of talking through the state of FPL and the double game week to help sort of think through those decisions. But pleasure to have me and good to see you again, Josh.
Yeah, good to see you too, Dave. Yeah, I feel like of all the people I know in my personal life, I know like I would say in general, the kind of the people who are creating fantasy content it tends to be a sort of more patient manager, right? Like someone like, I mean, I guess you have like the funny managers, right? like the people who are in like who do FPL kind of entertainment, and the people who are like creating, Excel spreadsheets and algos and things like that to help you. And I feel like that group skews very patient, and I feel like that's where you are as well. So I
Mm-hmm.
feel like you have just probably had 3 to 4 transfers in the hopper basically the entire season. Is that
I mean,
fair?
not to completely one up you, but I've had 5 transfers for about a month, and
Uh-huh.
like the past 2 weeks, I've essentially burned them. I went on FPL review, and like the second option was just burn a transfer straight up. I was like, okay, great. And I've been on the Discord even. I'm like, guys, like, what the heck do I do? I've been just shuffling like like fifth defender things around. So
Yeah.
actually I'm gonna have to like empty the clip this week, so that's what I'm
Yeah.
yeah, this is like a movement week for me, so
Well, I mean,
yeah.
and how are you doing in terms of overall ranked? I mean, is it just, are you just going from strength to strength? I mean, is it just you're into the top 5K, top 2K, top
Well, that's the thing
1K?
is with that flex, you would think I'm doing reasonably well. I'm very happy. I'm 200K ish right now.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
And so having a decent season, the one thing is my team value is like horrendous. So, and actually it helped me because a month or whenever ago, I couldn't get Saka. So I was
Okay.
like, whatever, I'm just gonna have to fade Saka. And that actually helped me. Like that's what rocketed me up pretty well. But now I just don't have team value. So it's gonna be tough for me to get in like the du jour, like
Yeah.
Gakpo plus the upgrade, Rogers to a Bournemouth guy, plus all this other stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna have to talk through what sort of the priorities are this week. So I look forward to that.
Good. Well, yeah, I think we can get into that in just a second here. I did want to just do a quick. So we're recording this while the Man United, or I should say, the Fulham Man United match is on right now. Very weird, by the way, how they reverse it in England, right? If you in
Hmm.
America, like the visiting team is usually listed first for a sporting event, right? Like I feel like if Buffalo is going to KC, like KC is the second team listed, but in England, Fulham host Man United. It's like I don't know. It's not very interesting, but it's just weird how the way that the sort of way it's
Well, because
organized.
I
Yeah.
always grew up remembering it because it's always, like Buffalo at Kansas City. So the home team is always last, so it's always at the
Right.
home team. But that in
Yeah.
in soccer football, it's reversed. What's nice though is it's funny in the US we accept the reversal. So we don't switch it back. So it's not like a metric
Yeah.
standard measurement war. It's just like we just accept it. It's fine. It's
That's
just
true.
reversed.
That's true. Although I still struggle anytime I see a date before the month or whatever, right? If it's like 17 February or something like that, it always
Oh
takes my
god.
brain a second
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
calculate
Which
what's
is the
going on
right way
there.
to do it, obviously.
It is.
I'm not
Yeah.
gonna not gonna
I
fight
feel
it.
like it would have been harder like in the year 17. It's a little easier in
Mm,
like 2015,
yeah.
2025. um, all right. Well, so how's game week 23 going for you so far? We're 9/10 the way through. I think you were saying right before I hit record here that it's been kind of a middling week for you. For you, I feel like it's two in a row for me. Kind of those what you might call like a gray arrowish week, right? Where I'm sort of like I feel like I don't know what your range of gray arrow is, but for me, it's like roughly 50K, right? I mean, I guess it kind of depends on where you are, but if I'm like 400K, if I go up to 450 or down to 350, like to me, that's kind of roughly like gray. I'm in the gray zone there,
Yeah, I agree. And I think I measure it more on, since it's fairly template right now, is like what three differentials, how
right?
did they compete? So my differentials were Allison Becker, Munoz, Rogers in my starting lineup, and none of those really went off. So and the rest
Yeah,
of the guys are fine.
yeah.
So I gained rank on sort of the non-template
Okay,
managers, which is
yeah.
fine. Yeah.
It's always a bummer when those differentials are the first people to play in a week, right? I always want my players who are like a little bit different to be the last. Actually, even today is kind of an example of that because right now I probably have the two biggest differentials in my squad playing in this match. I have Raul and Bruno playing. So
That's
I just
it's
yeah.
a great and this comes up on the pod a lot. This is one of your greatest bits of just like, oh man, they're playing first. I can't captain them. It's like that's old school FPL. That's like how you know you've been in the muck for a long time. Is you're just like I can't do the first game captain.
Okay, yeah, can't do the first day cap. I know, and I'm pretty much over that. I just don't. I still don't enjoy it. I still much prefer to have a captain in the later match if I can, because it's just more fun. It's sort of it's like just in general. I think the reason to be a sports fan is the hope, right? It's the fun of a full season and sort of, I'm going through this as a Lions fan right now, right? We had this amazing season in the NFL and they lost in the playoffs, but it's only a failure in a sort of narrowly, right? Because I got basically 18 weeks of fun out of this season, right? I mean, the entire fall it was amazing as they were winning these matches, and I had the Super Bowl to look forward to, and maybe when like you as a Patriots fan, you've had like so much sustained success, right? That it's sort of like it does raise the bar a little bit, maybe. Um, but for me, the Lions are never good, so it's just been sort of fun. And actually, you know what? I can find a way now to bring my this NFL commentary into the commentary on my own team because I am really I feel like I am caught in the classic sort of fantasy loop of having a rough season, which makes me like more disengaged, which makes my season go worse, right? And then when you're like, no, I'm gonna like bear down, I'm gonna like solve this problem, and then it's like you get like a little too aggressive, right? Because it's like a gambler who's trying to like make up his losses by putting everything on a number on roulette or something like that, right? You're sort of like you overdo it, in a way to sort of compensate. And I think I am sort of in that like Patriots zone right now a little bit where it's like I think because I've had a number of like top 10K finishes, like it's just I think I've had five top 10K finishes over the years, right? And like in fairly recent years too, right? Like I think two in the last four seasons, and so it's been hard to just completely I'm just struggling a little bit. I feel like to like kind of like make the best of it, right? And I don't think as a human being I'm necessarily like the best at like making the best of it, right? Like I could never make the best of it. Like when I was home during COVID, for example, I was just miserable, for like a solid year. So I don't know. What is your mentality like? I mean, you just said you're in the 200Ks and you're feeling fine, but you have as many top 10Ks as me. I mean, you've
So,
had.
so, so what you're saying is when you get behind by little, you just can't help but have Jameson Williams throw a screen pass
Yeah, exactly.
downfield.
I am basically I have a Tiger Woods style front runner mentality, right? Like
Hmm.
you put me in the lead on Sunday, right? I'm wearing red and I'm very hard to track down. If I'm chasing a title on Sunday, it's going to be very hard for me to come back and win. Right. It's sort of I need to be I kind of need to be off to a hot start. It's just like the way my personality works. And then if I do that, then it's like, or it's like, it's like if you're like a race car. Like I feel like I'm very good at like finding my lane, and sort of like not giving anybody any air, behind me. Uh, but if I'm behind, it's like it's like I'm more likely to crash into the third turn than I am to sort of patiently wait to make my move.
I can definitely relate to that. And shout out Red Dagger in the live chat. Also, go Bills. We do not want the Kansas City Chiefs industrial complex to win today at all costs. And congrats on not coming in last in NFL fantasy. Looking forward to next year. But I am the same way, Josh, very much so. And I can pivot to my other team, Spurs. Is it's very much when things are going well, the wind is at your back,
Right.
everyone's healthy,
Yep.
it's a great feel good story. We can out kick our talent level, but then when
Yep.
dominoes start to fall, you have to pivot to game style. You don't know how to play. It just the wheels come off, and I
Yeah.
can really
Yeah.
much relate to that.
Yeah, that was because Dave is a Spurs fan, and so there was a question from Bryce. Like, can you say something to cheer up the Spurs fans? Is there anything? I mean, this has got to be. You're getting close to the what is it? The annus horribilis or whatever they say, whatever the Latin expression is, right? I feel like it started to turn into a pretty rough year, right? I feel like just like one too many losing at home to you pulled off the rare double of losing at home to Ipswich and Leicester, right? That is a pretty rough
Well,
spot to be
I've
in.
bottomed out to the point of just being like, at least Ipswich and Wolves are like neck and neck for the final relegation, and I think we're safe. Like that's where I
Okay.
was to this morning, like
Yeah.
literally, like so. Yeah, I mean
Are you
it's pretty low.
are you Ange in still? Like, are you, how do you
I
feel about
am.
him?
I
Yeah.
am. I just so I don't know how much we want to go into this,
We
but
can do it
I mean,
just for a minute. I mean,
no,
it's
I know, I
yeah,
agree.
yeah, yeah.
But I agree. So back to like the when things are going good, it's going good. We know as a fact that when Andrew's in the right situation, he's a good to very good manager.
Right.
Okay, now obviously, right now the club is just, I mean, the whole spine of the team, the defense, the injuries is just piling up and it just became unsustainable. And he has not done a good job, to say the least, of, managing this aspect of where the team and rebuild and state of the squad is.
Right.
It's been atrocious. But so I think that if you're going to do a blame pie, if we're baking a blame pie, I mean, the first largest piece has to be the bench depth, player recruitment. I mean, the bench today, like, I mean, is Pep Guardiola in his prime? What's he going to do with that bench depth that there was
Right.
just no one I've even heard of on the
Right.
bench. Like, so maybe that's on me, but
But
I mean,
but
geez,
it just makes me wonder about the project though, right? Because like you're virtually always going to have issues, injuries, problems to solve, right? And um and so sort of as a like if the criticism for Ange is that he can't evolve, right? Then like that doesn't bode well for like a future European run or something like that, right? It's sort of it just makes him feel like he's kind of like a transitional manager, which is not the worst thing in the world, but it's just hard to be like, oh yeah, like he's going to turn it all around as long as everything goes right, because it's probably true of most managers, right? Like if you put
it's a
a
fair criticism. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
So I don't know. I mean, so I just feel like he's more like, yeah, if he gets fired, obviously it's deserved with the position, just the facts of they were. But I also think it's a little bit of a scapegoat move.
sure,
It was a little bit like the Patriots this year. When you take the NFL, it's just
yeah,
like there's so much wrong that it's hard to even pinpoint like where
yeah.
to even start to fix stuff. So yeah, it's pretty bleak.
All right. So if we were to turn this into add a little fantasy note here, I mean, is there anything, there's nothing fantasy wise going on with this team, right? Like can we just
Nothing.
write off Spurs possibly for the
Yes.
rest of the season?
I mean, at least for the foreseeable future, yes. I don't.
All right. And I'll do
Yeah.
one even hotter take here. Is there any hope for Son, or is he just washed as a fantasy asset?
Oh, I was gonna say as a player, he's fine real life player, I think still, but as
Sure.
a fantasy asset, no. No.
Yeah.
I mean, when your team is like Richarlison's like a godsend of coming back, you're in a rough spot,
Yeah.
like
I feel like he and KDB are both in the zone where like basically like you just want them to get back down to like 7.5 million, right? If Son and KDB were 7.5 million, there's a legitimate conversation to be had about whether you could have them in spurts, right?
well, and even
But
then I'd rather have
yeah.
Marmouche, I think. So it's like
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. But yeah, it's interesting. I mean, two kind of new players for Man City, which we can talk about in a second. Um, but I just think in general, it's like at least they'd be in the conversation, right? But at 10 million or whatever, they're just not. You can't have them, right? And so maybe in a very select double game week scenario or something. But we are in a double game week now. But I do want to do a couple of quick talking points, which I think can inform the double game week and the assistant manager discussion for that matter too. Because not only do we have double game week 24 for anyone who hasn't been as plugged in on fantasy of late, right? Because it was announced kind of recently that we have Liverpool and Everton both play twice in game week 24. Liverpool away to Bournemouth, away to Everton. And Everton hosts Leicester and Liverpool. And so that kicks off in the assistant manager chip. The kind of bonus chip that was added in January is now active as well. I saw the activate button. I'm actually scared to press it because I'm not. Can you unpress it once you've pressed it? I have to like. It's
Pandora's box,
yeah, it's like
assistant manager chip. Yeah.
it's like the free hit chip. Like once you hit that thing, there's no going back. So I have not added it yet. I'm kind of curious what it looks like. Do you get a little picture of the manager?
Comment
Sort of.
below if you know you can unpress the
Yeah,
assistant
yeah,
manager
exactly. Let us
chip.
know. Yeah, so no one accidentally does it. But I think so. Because the Bournemouth question is interesting, or what's happening with Bournemouth right now. This is kind of the first talking point from Game Week 23 because there's there are arguments I think for triple captaining Salah that go beyond just having Salah this week, and I think and I mean I guess I don't need to like preview that. I mean, I think like for me, I have all of my chips left. And if you play the assistant manager chip, it's a 3-week chip that you cannot stop, right? And if you play that, you can't play any other chips at the same time. So when you start to think about bench boost, free hit, triple captain, assistant manager chip, that's 6 of the final, what are there, 15 weeks left in the season, right? It's like you have to be a little cautious about not finding yourself in a position where you kind of run out of game weeks to use it. Not to mention a second half wild card, right? So there's lots of different chips still to be played here, and so there's an argument I think for triple captaining Salah, almost just to get the chip out of the way, right? And just sort of like use it on use it on the best player in fantasy in a double game week. Like it's like kind of hard to argue against that, sort of in the abstract. But we have seen Everton play significantly better since Moyes has come in, right? 2 wins and 2. I thought a pretty impressive away win to Brighton on Saturday. Not what I would have expected, certainly, for them to keep a clean sheet in that match. And then the 3-2 win at home. So 4 goals in 2 matches, which is like stunning for them. And then Bournemouth have been excellent at home as well. And Kirk is still sub 5 million, is now 5th overall for defenders in terms of points in the season. He's kind of he's a fun player too. He's sort of this rampaging left back, right? Who gets involved in all sorts of stuff for Bournemouth. And not just at home, he scored a really nice goal away to Newcastle as well a couple of weeks ago. And just to talk about the Bournemouth fantasy assets a little further, Kluivert and Semenyo, I think, are still quite under-owned, given how well they've been performing.
100%.
Yeah.
Kluivert is actually, speaking of top 5 defenders, Kluivert's top 4 mids points total. He's passed Saka
Is that
this
right?
year. Yeah, I
Wow.
think I looked
Yeah.
up yesterday.
And
Bournemouth are the
yeah.
hottest team in the league, full stop.
Yeah.
Pretty
And
much.
yeah.
I mean, Forest are in the conversation for Champions League, and they destroyed it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like Force would be the other team in that conversation, right? And they just destroyed. And that, and like again, really impressive win way to Newcastle a couple weeks ago. So does that make you feel like it's sort of like does that give you pause for a possible solid triple captaincy? Just the fact that Bournemouth, quite good form, played well at home, have given some teams trouble. I know Chelsea struggled when they were there, several weeks ago, and I don't know, like, and then Everton away. I mean, it's a Merseyside derby. Those matches can be kind of all over the place, right? You can sort of lots of different outcomes can happen in that one. So, does that make you feel like it's just kind of out, or does it not give you pause and you're sort of
Yeah.
fine triple captain?
Speaking of Chelsea, why can't they get a good goalkeeper like Kepa? Am I right? I mean,
Yeah, I know. Yeah, well, exactly. I know they should look for him in the market. Maybe I think he's still on
yeah.
loan. I think he can't play against them because
Oh,
it's a
well,
loan
okay, well,
deal.
there you
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
No, I played my triple captain last year, so I've been sort of out of sight
Okay.
on mind on
Yeah.
the chip talk. But
Okay.
no, from what I mean, from what I think solid triple captain this week is a complete no-brainer.
Okay.
If you have it, would not yeah, I would say if you don't play it, I think that would be almost on the silly side because because your point on the assistant manager, if we want our assistant manager dopamine hashtag make fantasy fun again assistant manager chip, I think we want to play it on some sort of mid-table team or get that table advantage in
Right.
play. I don't think it's very fun to play it on Liverpool,
No.
and I don't even think the maths on it very well. So yeah.
No. I continue to think that that Man City are starting to feel like the team might make a lot of sense because they're in this kind of rare position of being uh, a one of the best teams in the league, but they are actually in a mid-table position, right? Where they're capable of like their wins are going to matter more. And in terms of the value of the system managership, obviously they're capable of putting a massive number down in terms of goals as well. And they even occasionally keep a clean sheet once every 15, 20 weeks. And so there's like a little bit of a window there as well. And so I think, and also like most people will not be tripled up on Man City, right? The other kind of catch with the assistant managership is that you cannot play it if you have three. Like if you were considering going with Arne Slot, for example, for the assistant managership, you can't be tripled up on Liverpool, right? Already, and in order to play that, so
Yeah, it
that's
takes up a slot. Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
a little bit of a catch there.
So just
Uh,
to before we
yeah,
move on from the Bournemouth assets, so Clivert underowned, as you said, in just hot form, great
yep,
player. Semenyo, our good old friend, still in the conversation, maybe a little bit even more X minutes. We know and love him. Also, very good pick, same price. Definite option. You don't have in the running order, but you have to mention Utara, who's playing
right,
as the 9,
yeah,
and he's
yeah, hat trick.
5.0. Um, so yeah, hat trick. Yeah, is that good?
Yeah,
Our hat trick's good.
yeah.
So I mean, I think Clivert is, I guess, the sort of no brainer. But I don't think I
Yeah.
think Semenyo and Utara are easily are equal. I think you could pick any of the three, if not maybe like double up if you want to have fun. But what do you have a
Yeah,
lean there? Or?
not really. I mean, I guess, yeah. So Evan Nilsson is just out indefinitely. We don't know how, like, I guess he's just
Mhm.
unknown return date. So, yeah, I mean, I guess yeah, it's an interesting question. I mean, certainly like the floor seems highest for Clivert at the moment. But Otara at 5 million out of position forward. That's pretty appealing, right? It just like it's pretty easy to slot. Yeah, they have a great, honestly, like it's a game week 25 question to a degree because they have a really fantastic, like once you get past the Liverpool match, they have a fantastic run. Southampton, Wolves,
Oh yeah, one is
Brighton. Yeah.
essential. I think. Yeah, especially
Yeah.
next week. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, and so I think I guess I would lean Otara just because I just have like a little bit of a fetish for out of position players, right? Like out of position and cheaper. I don't know. What about you? Do you have a strong preference there?
I was leaning Clivert, but yeah, again, I'm gonna have to think about it. Maybe I have to read some like Bournemouth like fan blogs or something
Yeah.
to get the idea. I guess it is. We do have an extra week because I mean Liverpool have not been. I mean they leak a little goals, but an extra week wouldn't hurt. I guess to observe and make my
Yeah.
final decision. So
Yeah, and Semenyo has a lot of value just because he takes so many shots, right? He's like he's just like super involved in the attack. So yeah, I agree. I mean, I think you could genuinely like look at a possible double up there, and I think there's some value in that. The On to Everton. So I mentioned they won 1-0. And Jai wins the Everton forward debate, sort of by default, with Calvert-Lewin going off like in the 20th minute with a hamstring injury yesterday. So I foolishly brought in Calvert-Lewin. I didn't start him, but I just brought him in to free up money to bring in Trent for this weekend. It's like,
Hey, buddy,
yeah.
me too.
Did you? Okay. All right. Good. All right. Misery loves company. Yeah. Very frustrating. And I didn't really, honestly, I kind of just went with the Mikel Takvam. Like he had him above and Jai on the chart. And I was like, okay, fine. I didn't really have a strong feeling one way or the other
Yeah,
between those
same
two.
here. And also, I
Yeah.
was just like, like you mentioned, I just basically, I didn't have a strong move. I didn't want to get rid of like Gabriel and and I'm with good fixtures. So, and I was just like, I can just move João Pedro to DCL. They're gonna be bench anyways, and then I can get a double game week pop. And the price again, my team value pricing was an issue for me. So, it seemed like
Yeah.
a sensible move. And
It
it's
seems
like, oh
sensible
man.
too. I know. I mean, in hindsight, the move would have been, would have been to go Gakpo and Konate, and that's like a
Well,
20-point swing. But
so again, I had Allison Becker. So I have Becker,
mm,
TAA, and Salah, obviously. So I
yep,
was already like, I'm already in on Becker. So I just said, I'm not going to read anything, think about it. I'm just going to save a transfer, keep Becker, roll with it. He's solid. And then it's just like, I should have like thought more about it because it's like, yeah, if Gakpo is a better move, I don't want to be stuck in like
yeah,
take lock that I have to keep Allison. So in
yeah.
hindsight, I should have thought about being more flexible there.
See, and this goes back to the like attention loop stuff that we're talking about, right? Like if you were 27K right now, right? That's probably like something that you're like dedicating like a solid hour or two on like Friday evening, right? Like sort of like just sort of like looking at like thinking it through and getting some, like soliciting some takes and things like that. So yeah, it's an interesting question of like how do you force yourself to pay more attention when you're sort of like, it's like like see past your like frustration or something like
Yeah, I
that.
mean, a
Yeah.
lot of content. I think it was more in trend a few years ago, but they did a lot of like FPL behavioral economics. Like, how can you use it to help you as a manager? And like the number
Yeah.
one thing is the sunk cost fallacy. And for anyone who doesn't know, it's just like the classic example is like you buy tickets to a concert and it costs $50, but on the day of you feel really sick and you have all this stuff to do and you have something early in the morning, you're like, oh, but I have to go, but I spent $50. The $50 should not go into your mindset at all. It should be what's the best for you right now going forward. You should
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
take past decisions that you can't change into your future outlook. So that's the number one thing when I think of things, just don't have
Yeah.
sunk costs. Like, right, I mean, obviously DCL got injured, so that's a take out. But even if he played poorly, you know what? That was a bad decision. I'm just gonna take him out. Like, you
Yeah.
don't have to double down on a bad decision, as it were.
Exactly. And that's really applicable right now because the easiest thing for me to do, I only have one transfer right now, is to just go to go Calvert-Lewin to Njai. And it's there's a part of me like yesterday when I was sort of frustrated, I was like, I'm just not even gonna like I'm just gonna like punt on him, right? I'm just like not gonna deal with it. I'm gonna solve some other problem. But like it's very likely that, and I have to like look at this a little more over the next couple of days, but it's very likely that the most sensible move is to just go like for like, right? They're exactly the same price. And so there's really no it's probably the most logical move. I mean, if I had 2 million in the bank, sure, I could look at Gakpo, right? But as is, it's a little bit tricky. Um, so, what about other options on Everton and okay? So, like, the double game week is coming up in 24. I'm going to kind of like, I guess I'm going to move ahead the game week 24 preview a little bit here. We can talk about the assistant manager stuff a little bit later, but we have a pool of assets that play twice in game week 24. If we were to start with Everton, right? We talked about Njai. Do you feel like the Moyes, like obviously there's always like a little bit of a new manager bump, but I mean, is there anything we sort of know about Moyes from, well, I wouldn't necessarily go back to his time at Everton, right? That's too long ago. Basically everybody's changed, but like from his time at West Ham that like, would inform the way that you maybe think about his assets, like on Everton, how we might deploy them, like players that might be more valuable or less valuable.
Yeah, it's a good question. I did buy into, well, obviously we both bought in DCL. So I did buy into the hype of, and the manager speak of, we're trying to feed him, we're trying to get him going.
Right.
I bought into that, and obviously like he scored. So like,
Sure.
I was
Yeah.
like, this seems like a and we say what you will about DCL in the past, but like I did buy into that a bit. So I was willing
Yeah.
to do a small bet on that. And again, like this is your eighth attacker type thing, and it's not, if it goes poorly, the worst is it's like burn a transfer to
Right.
move it.
Right. Right.
But I don't know. I think I would rather, and this was kind of thinking even last week before I was thinking ahead. If team value wasn't such an issue, I think I'd rather have Vissa on Brentford, who's 6'3" and Jai's 5'4". I
Yeah.
think I would rather just make that move because
Ahead of the
looks a
Spurs
lot
game.
better.
Yeah.
Almost scored. Well, got a really good chance. Was it today or yesterday? Games are bleeding together, but looks really, like a better asset to have. So I think I'd rather go there. I'm not
Yeah.
super jazzed about going back to this isn't my sunk cost. This is just I don't think I'd rather go back to the well on the Everton attack. And but
Yeah.
I would consider going. I'm actually, I mean, I'm literally considering going Allison Becker to Pickford this week to open up
Really.
some options. I mean, again, I want to keep everything on
I
the
guess if you've
table,
got with five transfers, it's not crazy, right? I mean,
Right.
I feel like that is what. Yeah, it's actually interesting. It really makes me feel like I need to like in I don't know if I could change my mindset enough this season to do it, but like moving forward, I really have to think more about the value of. I mean, you essentially have a wild card right now, right? A kind of
Oh yeah,
bonus
yeah.
wild card.
Essentially,
Yeah.
well, the thing was too is, and this is what you mentioned on the pod of a number of weeks ago, is like we know over the years that big at the back, large money on defense is not good,
Right.
but there was an inflection point in the game when Holland was not doing well, when it turned into a pick'em game for a couple weeks when price was not an issue. So
Right.
I just went in on defense. I'm like, sure, I have money to burn, and there's
Yep.
no other place to put it. So now I'm starting to unwind it, and
Hmm.
so that's another reason to do that as
Right.
well.
The kind of Arsenal triple up, things like that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah. Yep.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that it's. I really don't know. I wish that my boy McNeil was available. Right. It's like the one like the so it would have been a really fun time to have him, given his like kind of resurgence in form. I guess he's been out for quite a while now, right? Yeah, he's been out since game week 14. I didn't realize it was that long.
Yeah, it's
Really, really,
serious. Yeah, I saw that.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a shame too because he had 3 goals and 5 assists in the first 13 matches. Like I mean, he was in a he's heading towards a fantastic season. Yeah, so I think defensively, I wouldn't overthink it. I would just go with Michaelenko, who's the cheapest player, has a little bit of attacking potential. I don't know why you'd go for Young, who's old enough that there's a chance of some rotation. Tarkowski's fine, but I just don't know why you'd pay the extra 0.4 million.
Yeah, it's pretty
Same,
neutral. Yeah, I would go
yeah,
4-3. Yeah, the
yeah,
Mikalenko for
yeah.
sure.
Same with Branthwaite. But yeah, I think Pickford makes a lot of sense too. He's only 5 million. If I could go there, um, I don't think I'm going to be able to do it. I'm going to be like point 0.1 short, but I Henderson to Pickford for a hit would actually be something that I would at least consider.
Oh, I would consider that
Yeah,
100%. Yep.
yeah, and they play away to Man United in game week 24 as well, so it's not like I'm passing up some.
As a Munoz owner, I would definitely go for that
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
It's just I'm so done with that.
By the way, quick update: we are still at 0-0 through 36 minutes in the Fulham Man United match. So,
All right.
one of the few times, like I would say, of
Money
the like,
whites. All right.
yeah, of the roughly 500 episodes that we've done of the main feed of the podcast, maybe like 3 or 4 times ever have we recorded while a match was actually going on. So it's a little
I'm a part
interesting.
of history.
Interesting. Yeah, you're part of history. Exactly. What way to celebrate? It'd actually be funny if this was our 500th episode and we it's just like, we're just gonna no pomp, just like just do a game week 24 preview.
It would be
Um,
on brand.
yeah. So I'd say Pickford, Mikalenko, nobody in the midfield. I would not try to talk yourself into Ghana or anybody or Decore. I just don't think there's sure. I mean, any of those guys could pop off and score a goal. Like this is, the outcomes are not determined, right, for these matches, but it seems very unlikely that you're going to get anything there. And so I don't think they're worth the long shot of even with like 5 transfers. I don't see a lot of value there. Yeah, and then enjoy up front, and then it is okay. They actually do have pictures because I'm on the website right now. I'm scrolling down, and you can pick all the forwards, or I can pick David Moyes as the manager, Dave. And so I wait
gotta
and
see this.
yeah. So there's a little. Let's see. There's a little picture of Moyes. Oh my gosh.
Oh, here we go.
They
Oh yeah, this is great.
Yeah, they squeeze it. It looks like he's squeezed into like he's like in the first Star Trek movie, you know, when they're like
Look at
on the
Pep's picture. He's wearing like streetwear.
yeah, it's a cool, like I like the I'm not a big fan of betting names on kits in general, right? Just because I just think they look kind of tacky, but it's not a bad look in general. I like it.
It's good stuff.
Good stuff. All right, so
Slot's wearing a quarter zip. He looks like Eli Manning or something.
ooh, yeah. Let me pull him up here a little bit. I know. I feel like they've really have they ruined the quarter zip. You know, I actually like a quarter zip. But I worry now that the Manning brothers have popularized it to an extent that I feel like it's a little bit like, I mean, it's funny actually, because I've got a Patagonia, like the better sweater fleece on right now, which was nearly ruined because like too many like Morgan Stanley. Yeah, too many venture capital. And I work in Midtown Manhattan in my real job.
No, it's not a vest, so you're safe. You're still in like a Subaru hiking.
Yep, exactly.
It's giving that. It's not a vest, so I think you're safe. If you're in Europe, I think the quarter zip you're still safe. In the US here, it's
totally. If you're at Davos and you've got a quarter zip on, I think you're fine. You're in the right territory. But I did actually hear that Patagonia stopped doing custom branding. They will not create 1,000 of these for Deutsche Bank or anything like that. Yeah, you've got to outsource it exactly. So just go to Printful. Make up your own.
Yeah, Patagonia is like the Ben and Jerry's of fleece.
It is.
Like they're ethical.
But they're also like, I know this is like it's nothing to do with fantasy, but like they're also like the best company. Like they're like legitimately like they're genuinely
they're legit.
Yeah, they're legit. Like it's like an actual place where it's worth spending a little bit more money, and also like the return policies. This is just free advertising. I don't know. It's like it's a bonus. Patagonia, if you're out there, if you're looking for sponsorship opportunities, hit up hailcheaters@gmail.com.
Well, I'll always ride for LLB, and I'm a New Englander, so they also have lifetime returns. So
I like LLB as well, and I've been to the boot in Maine twice, and had a great time both times.
There you go.
And then they need to do more collabs. They did a cool Todd Snyder one a little while ago. Yeah. All right. So moving on to Liverpool, who wants to double in 24. We have a couple, they're the obvious candidates, of course. We talked about Salah and the triple captaincy. I think Konate versus Van Dijk. I feel safe enough now with Konate as a starter that it's probably, I don't know. I mean, is money ever really no object, right? It's always a consideration, unless you're planning to wild card like the next week or something. So, can you make a strong argument for Virgil over Konate, Dave? Yeah,
no, not really. I mean, they're both fine picks, and like you said, if money was no object, sure, you'd go Virgil, but I don't.
Yeah,
I would go Konate as well.
That's how I feel as well. I mean, I do think that you get probably like a little more XG from Virgil. I think he's a little more.
I mean, what is it, like a 5% chance at a goal?
Exactly.
What's his
if that, right?
Goal odds for Virgil? Throw a $5 on it right now.
Yeah, exactly. It's right 1 in 20. It seems that's probably about right. So
I would get limited on DraftKings if I tried to bet that. That's how long shot it is.
Yeah, exactly. I did successfully pull off a Saliba anytime a couple of weeks ago, and that was
was probably like a plus 100,
No, it was like plus 24, and it was the luckiest goal because it literally bounced in off of, it was like a ricochet off his knee, like the ultimate. It was the ultimate Saliba goal, really. He scored like I think he scored like 3 goals in his career for Arsenal, and it's like he has a couple of like lucky deflections, and then he has this brilliant like edge of the box like that fell to him. This is like I think his first season last year. It was an incredible goal, and so anyway, all right. So
speaking of lucky goals, I mean one of those Gakpo was just a deflection tap in. So let's not get way ahead of ourselves.
That's true. That's true. But
the other one was really good. So
and he's in the mix, right? And so I think, so I mean, if I were ranking defenders, I would go Trent, Konate, Virgil. I would probably avoid Robertson. Maybe I'm just like too cautious, but to me, the Tsimikas rotation risk is it's just a little present, right? It's not that much of a worry, but it's enough that it knocks Robbo below Konate for me
I
personally.
mean, speaking of washed, I mean, come on.
He's had a good season. I mean, he's been good
Sure. I
mostly,
mean,
but
he's fine, but yeah, I
yeah,
guess he's
yeah,
not
but
the old Robbo. He's
he's
not
not.
Robbo. He's now Robertson.
No, no, yeah, he's not Robert. That's true, actually. Yeah, that's how you know somebody is washed is when you stop using their nicknames, right? It's like once we start talking about Alexander Arnold in a couple of years, we'll know it's really over for him. Uh, yeah, Kevin of Bruyne. You know, once we start saying the full Belgian. All right, so yeah, Mohamed Salah. So. What do you think about Luis Diaz? I mean, he's 7.5 million. He is a fairly assured starter. I know, obviously, like there have been moments when he's been rested or pulled early for matches. He's been slightly inconsistent in terms of returns. Like I don't know, general thoughts on him, and then maybe if you want to add some thoughts on Szoboszlai as well, because Szoboszlai was in kind of a much like a slightly more maybe he's been doing this for a while, but maybe I just noticed it yesterday. But like a much more advanced role for him in that Ipswich match yesterday. He was really, really involved in the attack.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I think with Louis Diaz, I think I'm gonna go Don Draper and just be like, I don't think about you at all, really. Just because I think the last time I was on this pod was right when he was at the end of his hot streak, and I remember you asked me, it's like, what is it over? And I'm like, yeah, it's over. And then I was right. So
Yeah,
luckily,
yeah,
the take was good. So I really, even since that point, haven't thought about bringing him in. Although I like him as a person and a player, I
sure.
just and also, like you said, sort of 7.5 price point gets big expensive. And I think with the emergence of these Bournemouth cheapies and just having to have Salah, Palmer, and Bumo,
Yep.
I guess Palmer, I guess debatable now, but
Yeah.
having to have those sort of expensive guys and and the forward lack of cheap forwards is just would put me off that just team structure, I would
Yeah.
say, to
Yep.
get really wonky with it. And
Yep.
then
Yeah.
Szoboszlai,
Like for
I haven't
example,
really
like you wouldn't.
looked into it too much,
Yeah,
but
like you wouldn't want to go in Bomo, right? Given his form, given they play Spurs at home. I was thinking, you know, if you're the kind of manager that just uses the fixture difficulty ranking in the FPL site, I do think it can be a little deceptive sometimes for a couple of reasons. One is I don't think they update it
I was gonna
quite.
say they haven't updated till since June of 2024. So
Yeah,
yeah, I don't.
yeah, and also they don't differentiate between attack and defense, right? So
Yeah,
like a fixture that's like a three, like let's say defensively, sure, it might be like a 3 out of 5 next weekend. But like from an attacking point of view, given how Spurs are playing, given their injuries, that's like a 1 or a 2, right? In terms
oh
of
yeah.
like,
I mean,
yeah, like
you're
what?
not gonna give up goals, and same
Yeah,
with even City for that matter.
yeah, yeah,
But
exactly.
so
Yeah.
yeah, completely agree. You gotta dig into the data a little bit more than yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And you can go to Hub or other, you know, or Scout or any number of places, and you can get a more granular picture of that stuff. All right, so yeah, I'm kind of with you on the Liverpool midfield. Gakpo. I mean, if I had 5 transfers, I would certainly be trying to find a way to bring in Gakpo myself for the double. And I think any risk of a possible one-off Darwin start. It's still, I mean, the way it works out, I just think Darwin's going to get his starts in. There are basically like two kind of dead rubber, and I shouldn't say dead rubber because one of them is an actual FA Cup match, but right that they play Preston North End and they have a functionally irrelevant Champions League match sandwiched around the double game week, right? And so I don't think it's likely that Liverpool are going to need to play Salah or Gakpo or kind of any of their best 11 in the. I'm sure some of them will play, right? Their team only goes so deep, but like they don't need to, right? And so it's an opportunity to kind of play some of the more squad, you know, rotatable players.
Sorry, I was just trying to get in Gakpo on my team, and I mean, this is how
Figured out.
bad it
Yeah.
is, though. And
Yeah.
maybe it's a little too of a wonky-ish question, but like, I'd have to go Becker to Pickford, DCL to Gakpo. I'm 1.5 short, so I'd have to change Wood into a basically non-playing forward.
Mm,
It's rough. Or I guess
yeah.
is Gordon now like expendable? Their fixtures are going to get
He's
rough,
just,
right?
I'd say he's just kind of a low ceiling player is really the problem.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. He's had enough double digit returns that maybe I shouldn't call him that, but it still feels that way to me. I don't know why I'm just like, I like him. I just like, I'm not, he feels
You know what? I could just go Gordon to a Bournemouth guy.
right. Then
That
free up a
seems
couple
logical.
million.
So that's a
Yeah.
fun three move, I guess. Bring in a Bournemouth guy a week early. I could play him
Even
or
bench him.
Wood next
Yeah.
week, which is fine. And then I've Gakpo and Pickford, so I might do that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not bad. Yeah, that's a fun option, especially because you've got another wild card to play still. So there, it's sort
Yeah.
of. I have not quite figured out when I'm going to play my second half wild card. It's
Oh, we gotta start thinking about that, Josh.
I
Time to pick
know.
it.
Well, I think it's trickier without the double game weeks,
Hmm.
without as many double game weeks this season, right? There's not the kind of logical. I actually think it's great. Like I think last year, in fact, just in recent years in general, I think we've had kind of too many double game weeks because in theory they present a strategic opportunity, but I find that they often kind of narrow the range of options, right? Because at some point, like enough people do the math that there's sort of a prescribed kind of optimal plan, right, for
Yeah.
when you should do this stuff. But
Yeah.
when you only have a couple of double game weeks, it's much harder to find that, right? Because it's much more team dependent
Yeah, it's a
and
little more fun. Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
It's like when do I need to just refresh my team? And then
yep,
just for folks who are unawares too, game week 29 is gonna be a massive blank. And so right now it seems like the hive mind is thinking free hit game week 29. So just
right,
sort of probably just pencil that in. Don't put that in as a I don't know, maybe a wild card would make sense. Again, team
yeah.
dependent, but seems like that's more of like a free hit game week. So just
Right.
another thing on your radar there.
And we're going to have to figure out. It sort of depends on the outcomes of the second leg of the League Cup, right?
Hmm. Sure.
Yeah, which is still up in the air. I mean, I don't know. Like Spurs could pull it off. I don't know. Like, I mean that this is their season, right?
Yeah.
They're up a goal, but they also. I mean, it'd be incredible. Like if Spurs win the League Cup this season, this like insane season, it would
Yeah.
be
It would save
be
him his job.
it would save Ange's job. I mean, they're probably playing for Ange's job, and so you'll know
Hmm.
how much they want him to keep his job based on how many,
I was gonna say
how
that
they
it's like
play.
this is
Yeah,
if this was America and the NFL, you'd say he's lost the locker room. But like the locker, there is no locker. It's like a
yeah,
bunch of like below replacement level players. Like I don't know. I'm not
yeah. These guys
gonna
are,
see it.
yeah, exactly. They're playing right now, right? Like if somebody else comes in, they may not play. So there's really no reason to advocate, for him to get out of the squad. All right, so I think. Yeah, and what about Sabazlai? I mean, is it just kind of this? I mean, he's a little cheaper than Diaz. I was surprised by some of the massive numbers that he's been pulling. Just in terms of his XG, like it shot up considerably the last couple of weeks. Like honestly, it's gone from point 0.3 in 21 to point 0.4 in 22 to almost point 0.7 in game week 23. And then if you go back to game week 17 in the Spurs match, he had 1.77, which is kind of insane for. I mean, I know he's again, and he's playing in a more advanced role right now, but that's quite high. I feel like for a midfielder, right, to have that kind of number.
I mean, yeah, you would always take that. I still feel like just it feels punty.
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, that's not a bad thing in a double game week either.
Having one double game week punt can be a lot of fun. I think Njai might end up being that kind of quasi punt, right? I mean, even if like the sort of well, first of all, I don't think his ownership's not going to get that high, right? Just in general, even if the collective FPL hive might all go for him, he might jump up to 9% owned or something like that, right? So it's
Yeah.
still going to feel like a massive, like a massive difference just to have him in your squad.
He also doesn't play
Yeah,
90 very often. So,
yeah, which could change with Calvert Lewin out. I don't know.
mm,
I mean, I don't know. It sort of depends. I mean, it looks like always likes the idea of having a kind of two striker lineup right now, right? Because like Beto kind of came in immediately as a like for like sub for DCL. Beto, the never really worked out for him, did it,
it-
Dave?
it's,
Yeah.
uh,
You loved him too. You
we had
were
so much hope,
I know you did. Like you named your team after him for many years in a row. I
Yeah.
remember, and it was yeah,
There
it's a
was a
shame.
time when we could just pick out a governor of a neutral state and,
Right,
and
exactly.
just let it ride. And
Yeah,
those
I
days are
know.
long gone.
I know we need a player named Waltz in the Premier League this year, don't we? It's uh, All right, so just a couple other quick thoughts before we talk about game week 24 proper. I mean, we kind of covered the big double game week stuff already, but I was impressed with Isak again. Scores a brace. Obviously, they're playing Southampton, but still another impressive performance. Not really a captain option for game week 24 given the double, but moving forward, I think you have to sort of put him in that he is broken through, I would say, and sort of put himself in the conversation with Salah and whoever else is kind of in form at the moment. I mean, it seems like Palmer's dipped a little bit, but I guess he and Salah, I'd say, are kind of the
And your
two.
boy Foden, 400
Yeah, well,
pounds.
yeah, Foden too. Yeah, I mean, throw him in there as well. I mean, Foden is actually even more fun because his ownership is still crazy low. I think that it's I mean, let's play a little game here. What do you? And I know this is like gonna be a little deceptive because it's doesn't necessarily account for like engaged managers. But what do you think Foden's ownership is right now in
I have no idea.
fantasy?
Okay, so this is just overall ownership in FPL.
Teams selected by percentage, just using the actual site
Yeah, the
number.
site.
Yep.
What's his? Oh man, I'm trying to think of what the max he got up to this year. It couldn't have been more than 35 this year. I feel like so. Right now, maybe it's like 20. I don't know.
8%.
Okay,
He's
yeah,
8% owned, which I don't know if they've always done this, but 8.3% ownership is enough to put him 13 out of 328 midfielders in terms of ownership. That's an interesting. I had never really thought about that before. That to be 8% owned puts you in the top 15 in terms of midfielders. Like, what an interesting. It really shows you how varied it really is once you get past the top couple of
that's what we
players.
call a long tail, Josh.
There is an extremely long tail. I mean, for 8% to be, near the whatever that is, the what percentile would that be? I mean, 13 out of 328. It's like top whatever it is, top 5 percentile, higher than that. I don't know. You're the math guy, Dave. You tell me what
I think
percentile that is.
8% in the 8% per tile, but
No.
percentile.
But I mean, no,
Oh,
13 out of 328. What percentile is that?
okay, well,
Yeah, to be ranked.
3% around.
Yeah.
So, but do you like? Speaking of, do you like those tweets every week where they're like, "Look at this manager who triple captained Utara this week."
Yeah, I just ignore that stuff. I like it.
Like,
Yeah.
I
I
mean that
mean,
it just drives me.
yeah.
Yeah, I drives me a little crazy.
Well, this is like the kind of stuff. I mean, to me, it's like when I think about like the best seasons I've had in fantasy, I feel like I rarely, and this is probably, I suspect this might be true for you as well. I rarely like we're in another mini league of ours, like another like private mini league where they give out $5 every week to the manager that finishes look at the top score, right? And there's 50, 60 managers in the league. And I can go multiple, even like my best years, I can go the entire year without ever winning that
I was gonna
award,
say I didn't
right?
even
Yeah.
know that because
Yeah,
I've never
exactly.
won that.
No, it's like my
Yeah,
best seasons. It's when I'm just consistently the ninth best manager, right, in the mini league. But I'm never 37th, right? It's just you're just like
exactly. You just try to
consistently,
get like the
yeah,
top million game week every week, and you
exactly,
print usually.
exactly,
But
exactly.
there's 11 million players right now, so I think we lose track of this
I
game
know.
we're playing is when we talk about NFL fantasy of being in a league with 10, 12 people, and then or even with daily fantasy we're playing even like a big tournament, it's like a
Yeah.
couple thousand people. You're
Yep.
playing against 11 million.
I
It's
know
completely unhinged.
it's
Like
crazy. Exactly. I mean,
too
like
many,
to
too many
be
people.
to be at 1.1 million puts you in the top 10%. And it's like it is hard to keep perspective on that sometimes, right? Like I do not feel like, and I guess I'm in the like 400-ish K right now. And it's like I do not feel like I'm in the top 5%, even though I literally am, right? And it's just sort of it is probably getting harder to keep people have been talking about this for a while, right? The like 10K is
Hmm.
just increasingly going to be a harder and harder number to reach. And I think I have like been kind of in denial about that for a while, right? Like sort of like it's
Yeah.
like, well, I was able to do it before, so why couldn't I do it again, right? But there has been a kind of you know, a democratization of data, right? It's just so easy to like not even like pay for stuff, but like literally just go on to FPL Reddit or go on to Twitter or whatever, right? Go somewhere and spend 30 seconds and you can find like a statistically like an analyzed number that will just tell you exactly what to do, right? Like what the ideal transfers
Yeah,
are this
and it's
week.
going to
Like,
make
yeah,
variance even more important. Like
yep,
you say, it's like, well, it's a coin flip. Bringing in Gakpo versus DCL versus this is like, well, you got completely
yeah,
blown out of the water if you made that move. Sorry,
yeah,
so
yeah.
you're gonna have to live with that too.
And the
So
I think the basic principle still applies though, which is that everybody who's doing well becomes a template player eventually, right? Their ownership is going to jump up, and there's still opportunities to just, whether it's just by like watching, like literally just watching lots of matches, or looking at the data, or both, like whatever your preference is. Like Foden was like a this was like a thing that you could have been on a couple of weeks ago, right? It would not have required a massive leap, right? Like just like looking at his performances. Like I watched the Man City match. I mean, like he does look better. It's like something, whatever happened to him like this fall, like whatever kind of like played too many matches hangover, post Euros, whatever it might have been. Maybe he and Rodri are just like best friends, and he was just devastated by that injury. We
well,
don't
yeah,
know, Dave,
I mean, City. I mean, there will with Marmoush coming from the Bundesliga, linking up with Holland. It's like maybe they're. I don't know. What do you think? Like, are City on the verge of just actually like flipping it around right now and getting on the street? Because on one hand,
Yeah.
you could see that, you could paint that picture. On the other hand, for stretches of that match, they were trying to play out of the back and they couldn't, and they were just
Yeah.
like gave it away every 2 seconds.
I know.
It
I mean,
was
you could
painful sometimes.
you
So
could
I
see
don't know.
both arguments literally in the last week, right? I mean, it's I also watched the Champions League match, right? Like up 2-0, concede 4 goals. They got roasted, right? And so it's hard to believe. I mean, from an attacking perspective, I think it's easy to see them just 6-1 their way to some like a bunch of victories, but it does feel like their defense is going to leave them short just enough times this season that they can't quite turn it around. I mean, you can just look back at the Brentford match a couple of weeks ago, right, where they conceded 2, and that was just an eminently winnable match. Even though I will often big up Everton, or did I say Everton? I meant Brentford. I'll often big up the G Tech and how what a difficult place it can be, especially in night matches. But still, right? Like Man City in years past would have been able to win that match, right? And it does feel like, I mean, even just like we saw it um, with Kushinov, right, where he kind of like immediately kind of like they don't feel settled, right? Like it feels like they're not quite.
Is that the Uzbeki defender? I
Yeah,
forget his name.
yeah,
Okay, yeah. I mean,
exactly.
I will
Yeah,
say even after that horrific
yeah,
play to
yeah.
let the goal, he was good after that. He was
Right.
decent. And
Yeah,
then he
he was,
almost
but he was
cried leaving the
good.
pitch. So
Yeah, he
yeah,
was good
up and
after
down.
the yellow card, which limited him, and the conceding and the giveaway that So it's just like, but it's like everyone seems like they got a mistake in him this year, right? And so I
Well,
feel
then
like
also
that's
like
yeah,
how much of those City goals are because Robert Sanchez was just freaking crazy, like just
yeah, yeah,
not even like
yeah.
close to doing his job. So that Arsenal game is going to be
It
fascinating.
is. Yeah, it really is. And I don't know if it's gonna be a rare Arsenal Man City match. I don't think I'm gonna have anyone starting that match. I think I mean, I guess I might start Gabriel.
Yeah.
That's depends on what my team looks like, going to 24. But
I mean, he might have let's talk about XG. I mean, that's a decent one with their center back
that's
situation.
true. That
So,
is
I mean,
true. Yeah, he's just an every. I mean, it's amazing. Every set piece is fun to watch Arsenal. I mean, in general, I do not think this has been an especially fun season for Arsenal, but the set pieces are fun. Those are fun to watch.
we do have one question in the chat before we start to wrap up, and thanks for the
Yeah,
shout out, Yellow Army. For the double game week 24, Timber to Mikolenko or Henderson to Pickford, or avoid Everton altogether, as they're bound to just let us down when we need them most. So I totally agree with that. I mean, I've been sort of ruminating on Pickford and all that. I
yeah,
think it's perfectly fine just to fade Everton. I mean, you can never go
totally.
wrong
No, no.
there either. They're even in the table with Spurs. So I mean, yeah, I don't.
Oh yeah,
It's fine.
absolutely. Yeah, and even the clean sheet. I don't have the like exact XG data in front of me, but like they had like there were a couple of. I was watching the quad box, Brandon. I just called you Brandon. Ha!
Oh,
First
but
one
the
of
greatest
those.
compliment. My life is
Yeah,
complete. I
we
can leave
went.
now. I
Yeah,
can
we
just
went
drop the
an
mic.
hour in before that happened,
It's
but
the beard, isn't
um,
it?
I think it is, yeah. But Matoma had an amazing chance early in the second half. Like Brighton certainly could have scored in that match, right? It wasn't
Yeah.
like they were like the steel curtain
Yeah.
defense or something
That
like
that
that.
said,
Yeah.
Henderson to Pickford, I think is a good move. I think
Yes.
that's
Yeah. 100%. I love it. Yeah. Exactly. I agree. All right. So let's move on to yeah. I think we're good on. Oh yeah. Just a quick shout out because we kind of forgot to do it earlier. So an hour in shout out to our Patreon. So patreon.com/always cheating is where you can go to get extra podcasts. I guess I'm going to be doing a solo one this week. That'll be fun. A little solo Josh pod previewing game
that's like
week.
a raw kitchen table. Just like I love those. I'm
Mhm.
looking forward to that one, especially on the double
Yeah.
game week. That'll be a fun one.
I'm considering doing a solo main feed pod next Sunday too. That would
There we
be
go.
wild.
That could be
So
interesting. It's like when Simmons did the like solo rewatchable for yeah the Tom Hanks Survivor movie. I can't even think
yeah,
of the name of it, but yeah,
it,
that'll be a classic if
it
we do
works.
that.
Yeah, FPL General does it. I think I can. We'll see how it
Oh,
goes.
shots
So
fired.
yeah,
Yeah.
I meant it in a good way. He does it well. Yeah, it was.
Well, you need some more gimmicks though. You need some more like he's got all like the 79th minute guys and all that. Your
That's true.
was it
Yeah,
69th minute? God,
that's true.
my
Maybe I have to
mind is
get
going
Brandon's
there.
little. Yeah, Brandon doesn't do the sound effects as much as he used to.
Oh,
We
you
have
need
to get it.
drops. Yeah,
Yeah, I
good
need some
point.
more
You need like a
drops.
junk drawer segment maybe or something.
Yeah,
But
maybe
shout out to
I'll.
the Patreon. I really, again, really can't say enough about the ad free podcast is a game changer. I
Yep,
just can't stand that stuff. And then yeah, I mean we're on YouTube too. If you have YouTube Premium, I guess that helps. But if you don't, I strongly recommend the Patreon. As I mentioned,
yeah,
even I was like bereft of ideas of my team, and I threw in the Discord and immediately got 3 or 4 really good,
that's
thoughtful
great.
responses
Yeah,
on sort of my team, even, and that's really nice. And it's good to have that
I'm.
community, as they say.
Yeah, I'm super impressed with the Discord as well. I really I don't know why it seems to work so much better than our old Slack, but it does feel like the flow of conversation is. I think it's just because people are in other Discords as well. I don't know how I suddenly have found myself in. I'm just gonna let me pull it up here as we're talking. I am in three, four. I'm in 8 discords. I don't know how. Like you can see them all on your left hand scroll, but I don't know when this happened, Dave. The eight. I was never in 8 Slacks. I'll tell you that much. But somehow
No,
I'm in 8.
Discord's
Yeah,
actually I mean, I sort of discovered as many people during COVID, so
yeah,
as a community builder, but it is nice, and I'm in one that talks about New York City, like house techno parties, just because like when I'm down there, I like to know what's going on. So it's yeah, there's a lot of great communities you can join there, and always shooting is one. I think, and credit to you and Brand for just fostering and building a like-minded community.
Oh yeah, thank you. And it's really not even us at this point. It's just we just sort of like wound it up like a like a deist god. We just wound we you just clockmaker in the sky. You just wind it up, and then everything that happens after that is out of our control. We don't talk about deism enough on this podcast, Dave, and I'm glad that we were able to do that today. The founding fathers were mostly deists, but that's a story for another podcast. So game week 24 kicks off on Saturday. We have uh, not an FPL classic, although we have a nice chunky Saturday, Dave. I'm looking forward to kind of all of the Forest Brighton should be fun. You have the first half of the double game weeks with Bournemouth, Liverpool, Everton, Leicester, another Wolves. Why are Wolves in every featured window? I've seen more Wolves than any other team this season. They are always in the exclusive
I can't not
TV
mention
windows.
this is like when all these like late games, they're like the Premier League equivalent of Thursday night football. These games are always on the national TV for the US, and it's setting back soccer
I
like
know.
years with all these
It's
terrible late
I
games
I
on
don't know
national
what
TV.
the I know, and it's like I'm out, and like, you're like, well, like the Monday ones you can kind of get right because they're not in Europe or whatever. But the number of times that West Ham and Wolves have been in featured windows this season is kind of ridiculous. And of course, West Ham is also in the Monday match. It's like they own that spot. That is just like it's like Spurs on Sunday. Just like you always Spurs match. I feel like 85% of all Spurs matches are played on Sunday.
Hmm.
The Premier League matches anyway. All right, so then yeah, and then Sunday we've got the Brentwood Spurs, of course. There they are again.
That is
Uh,
not a good fixture for Spurs, by the way,
yeah,
right now.
that
Talk
is
about it.
that
Terrible
is
timing on that
yeah,
one. Oof.
that is a tough fixture. Arsenal, Man City. I mean, I know some people. I suspect it was more true a few weeks ago. Not as true now. I personally I got rid of Timber. Ended up being a like for like transfer Timber to Trent in terms of points this week, but because of the late clean sheet that that Liverpool conceded or that they dropped. But I mean like I don't know. I'm trying to think of who else you would have outside of Gabriel. I mean, I don't know. It feels like I feel like I'm like that we're gonna see goals in this match. Like I don't see this as like a 0-0. That's for sure. I
This
don't.
is like
Yeah.
a borderline pure watch, like amazing, like
Yeah. Yeah.
top 4 or 5
Yeah. It's
pure watch.
weird. Yeah. Like the stakes feel very low. I mean, Holland at some point is probably going to have to re-enter the conversation, right? Just because he is back to like getting what feels like multiple attacking returns in every match. But
And by
at
the way,
his price, it's still tricky.
we should mention I brought him up quickly, but Marmoush, he's
Right.
Egyptian, I think. I mean, the write up on him that I read was he's sort of a jack of all trades, and he
Yeah.
doesn't really have a set thing. And I
Okay.
think that sort of bore out in the game. It looked like he was just doing a lot of positive things. He had a
Yeah.
chance. Well, he had a goal ruled out, I believe. So, but he wasn't like you didn't jump out like, wow, this guy's like an FPL legend, but he just looks like a very, very good, competent real life player. So I think he's
Yep.
still a wait and see, but interesting
Okay.
nonetheless.
Yeah, and I haven't watched him enough to really have like a sense yet of like what kind of values there. But he's classified as a forward, which is could be useful long term, right? 7 million's a little pricey for a punt. But yeah, like definitely like in the one to watch territory as we get closer to
I didn't
second
realize
half
he was a forward
wildcards.
actually. That actually is kind of intriguing. So yeah, one to
Yeah.
watch.
Yeah, and eventually, I mean, he's kind of getting his match minutes back, but we are going to be able to play the other oh my gosh, I'm forgetting his name now, the Oscar Bob, right? Like Bob is going to be back in the picture too. So I don't even see him on the on the site right now.
Whoa.
He's somewhere, right? He didn't get moved, did he, in the January or something? I don't know. Like we'll solve the mystery of Oscar Bob and why he's not on the site right now.
I
Um
just keep thinking of Bob Durst, like Bob. That's a deep cut for Durst heads. Yeah,
all right. Oh yeah, the HBO document. I've
yeah.
actually never seen
He
that.
left
I
some
got
missing persons in his wake, so I
yeah,
think.
yeah. All right. So on the assistant manager chip, you and I are both kind of this is kind of our final thoughts here, Dave, which is
Mhm.
that I mean some people want to play it this week. I don't think that playing it with David Moyes is a terrible move, but I don't love it because I don't necessarily see them keeping clean sheets in either match, nor do I see them scoring many goals, nor do I see them winning the match, right? So the sort of appeal of the double game week and using it on Moyes does feel like you have the chance for like a for them like to just knock off a larger team, especially Liverpool. Like if they were able to win that match, that'd be massive. But it feels like a little too much of a gamble for me to use it on
I
Everton.
agree. I feel like again the move is going to be pick the mid-table hot team du jour and
Right.
roll with that as a
Yeah.
chance to sort of boost rank with the
Yeah.
assistant manager. But I don't know the timing quite yet on that. But
That's yeah, exactly. And it may be that if I kind of zero in on Man City as the team that I want to focus on for this. And, it's like no one kind of wants to do it because they've been frustrating this season. They've conceded a lot of goals, but there's a real logic to it. And I actually wonder if there's some value in grabbing them for the assistant managership before they um, get so good. Like they're to me like it's inevitable that they're back in a Champions League spot, right? It's just a matter of time. And so they're you may want to kind of grab them before then. So
mhm.
just something to think about there. Um, all right. So, any final thoughts from you on Game Week 24, FPL in general?
No, I have a lot of. I might be in the Discord. Find me in the Discord talking about
Yeah.
transfers. I might use
Patreon.
3 this week. So
Yeah. Patreon.com/always cheating is where you can go.
definitely
Well,
tune into the kitchen table. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts there. And yeah,
yeah, and we have the final round of Champions League matches at midweek as well. There are some squads like Man City and Villa, I suppose, and even Arsenal to a lesser degree, lesser than the other two, that all have something to play for. It's going to be really fun, actually, if you can carve out some time, or if you're in America, invent a dentist appointment or something, because everyone is playing at the same time. on Wednesday, and so that I think will be a lot of fun to have that many matches going on at the same time, and so it'll be kind of fun to track that and all the kind of outcomes as they play out. So that's where we are. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Quick shout out to all of our producers, well, our Patreons in general, and you go to patreon.com/always cheating to support the podcast. But thank you to Mike DePietro, Trevor Ingerson, this week's co-host, Dave Weigner-Lodahl, our buddy Chris Howell, Andy Penn, Nick Wright, Lazarus Yanos, Jesse Halstead, Brian Chin, Babas Kuhn, Blair Jacobson, Tom Byerly, Andy Portlock, Dan Parsons, Terrence O'Donnell, Kerry Swanson, Jefferson Turner, as he does it, Francis Moore, Sam Schauer, Craig Jackson, Caleb Robbie, Brian Clark, Thomas Tislov, Fro Jacobson, Gareth H., Shalon F. Kadakia, Rishi Nigam, Noah Louise, Travis Grant, Linus Vinnerstrom, Matthew Skinner, Ben Coombs, Eric Kite. It feels like what Brendan does, he does it quicker than me. This is a lot of names. Rune Sandberg, the three Jims, James Murray Wood, James C., James Holland, Scully, Dave's good buddy, Craig at Total Maths Tutoring, and of course, Francis Mann. Thank you so much to everybody who supports the podcast at any level. If you would like to subscribe to the podcast, you can do it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, anywhere that podcasts are subscribed to. Of course, you can also watch the podcast on YouTube live or watch the recording after the fact. You can follow us on Blue Sky, which is, I would say, where we're posting more. I have been like in a real social media, like, don't like it anymore mode, post kind of everything that happened in the fall, and just feeling like I don't necessarily want to be in that world, but I'm trying to get over it, Dave. And so if
you want Mina Kimes content, you have to be on Blue Sky. So that's enough.
Yeah,
not worth the price of admission.
Increasingly more, exactly. And even like Jay Caspian Kang, one of the people that was keeping on Twitter, way too many Man United tweets for my taste. It's like it's gotta ease up a little bit. But you can find us on Blue Sky, or you can email us at hailcheaters@gmail.com. You can visit the website alwayscheating.com for all this information and more. Thanks again, Dave. Thanks everyone for listening or watching the stream, and we will talk to you soon. Thanks all. Bye.
Thanks everyone.
Bye. Okay, hold on one second here. Okay. I just hit stop. Let's see if that actually stopped the stream as well. I
shouldn't have closed YouTube. Comment below if we're still talking on the stream.
Yeah, exactly.
It says it's live.
I know. I just stopped the feed though on.
Bye, Red Dagger.
Bye.
Don't get canceled, Josh. Don't say anything.
I know. This is the one thing that Brandon told me I had to do, and so it's gonna be hilarious.